Just a bit of context. In British Columbia, 90% of the land base is owned by the provincial government, which means that all of the development that takes place on Crown land requires our review and our approval. And we work, I believe, in partnership, cooperative partnership with industry. And the other thing about British Columbia that's perhaps different from other jurisdictions, our local citizens really believe that they have the right to comment strongly and that governments will listen to them with regard to the development of industries, whether that be forestry, mining, or tourism. The concept of P3s was introduced in my province about 20 years ago. In the beginning, our focus was on traditional public infrastructure, roads, bridges, public buildings. Over time, we started to apply the principles of P3s to other government responsibilities, including tourism. In the early days, the public component of a P3 meant government. Today, the public component of a P3 includes government, the general public, and public stakeholders. My current work focuses on the development of ski and all-season resorts on Crown land, as well as the repurposing of select heritage properties and sites with tourism in mind. What I would like to share with you today are 3 projects, very diverse projects, that demonstrate the value of a P3 approach. The first project is an existing ski resort expanding into summer operations. With recognition that climate change is real and occurring, investment in summer infrastructure is critical to the long-term viability of the resort and tourism in the area. New products are required to meet the shift in visitor desires and expectations. This expansion is expected to cost approximately $300 to $400 million over a 10-year period, creating hundreds of construction jobs and hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax revenues for the provincial government. My team works closely with the developer on a design that is both financially and environmentally sustainable. We also work with the public to ensure that issues such as public access to Crown land and consistency with community values are met. Working with the public means seeking input in open houses and online. What we seek is the social license, the support from the community. In British Columbia, without that social license, a project may never get beyond the planning stage. We have been working on the design of this project for close to 3 years, working with the developer, working with the community. At this time, the project has strong community support, and I anticipate that the approvals will come in a very short period of time. Another of my responsibilities is the repurposing of heritage sites and properties. At the same time that we're doing that, we also have a responsibility to preserving the heritage values and adhering to our own heritage regulations. It's actually an area that I'm quite excited about. As we move from a mindset of heritage sites as places to be preserved, to be looked at, we're moving to a heritage thought that heritage sites are really a place for people to visit and to celebrate. The second project that I would like to tell you about is a heritage flour mill that was built in the early 1800s. The property currently operates as a museum, and like most museums, it loses money. And my bosses aren't very happy about that. We are currently in discussions with a winery that will continue to operate the flour mill as a heritage attraction. The winery will also build and operate a wine tasting facility, a wine store, a demonstration vineyard, and a restaurant. New activities on the property will include festivals, meetings, weddings, and receptions. My challenge for this project is working with the local Heritage Association in finding that balance between preserving our heritage values and that of a commercial operation. We believe that this partnership will increase visitation to the heritage property, and the winery believes that this partnership is consistent and enhancing to their brand. In other words, they're going to sell a whole lot more wine. Actually, that's something I'm really quite happy about as well. My third project that I'd like to tell you very briefly about is the rehabilitation of the Kinsale Railway Trestle. Built in 1911, standing at 145 feet high, 615 feet in length, the Kinsale Trestle is one of the world's tallest freestanding timber trestles in the world. It is a marvel of engineering and construction. Designed by engineers, it was built back in the day, by farmers and loggers. It was critical to the early forestry and mining operations. The trestle has historical significance to the community as well as to the province. Closed in 1979, the trestle fell into disrepair and public access was closed for safety reasons. Recognizing the value of the rail system and the trestle as a hiking and a biking trail for tourists and for locals, a campaign to upgrade the trestle was initiated by the local economic development and tourism organization. The project was a little bit different in the sense that it was a P3 between the government and a nonprofit organization. The total cost of this rehabilitation was $7.5 million, of which $5.5 million was from the provincial government and $2 million from the nonprofit, generated through fundraising and corporate sponsorship. Rehabilitation began in 2010 and the trestle opened in 2011. It is very popular with tourists, generating and creating new businesses, and it has to be one of the shining stars in a community that really doesn't have a lot going for it, or at that time. With all three of these projects, our goal, the provincial government goal, has been to create a place that tourists and locals will want to visit. In my experience, for a P3 to be successful, it must, one, and I have to say this is very consistent with the previous two speakers' comments, it must have project champions at senior levels of government that understand what the project is, what the goals are, and what we hope to accomplish. It must have community buy-in and support. And as public servants, we must operate openly and honestly with our private sector partners and the local community. We must be transparent. And four, business relationships by themselves are not enough for success.